Janbask Training. Learn and grow.
So yes, team. Now we are here with our day 13 session, and this brings an end to our manual testing. So now slowly you'll see gradually we'll be moving with the Selenium and Java. So you'll see that initially we'll just learn basic about that. We'll be moving up towards the Java. So once we have some basic knowledge about Java and Selenium, that is required in order to start Selenium testing. So then we'll be writing the Selenium programs. So mostly from today onwards, we'll be dealing with practical terms because the theory part is there, and that's for you people to read. But from my side, we'll be dealing most of the part with the practical terms. But yes, we do also have some theory to study, and for sure we'll devote some time. So that would be required for you to set up the base. So since we need some software, right, to work with Selenium. So I tried documenting a simple document through which you could download all the requirements that is needed, so that we could start with the Selenium and Java. So we have different items to be discussed today. That's considering introduction to Selenium and Selenium test lifecycle. So Selenium test lifecycle is followed practically. Yes, we do have some theory also to study about it. So usually what happens, let's not talk about Selenium in general, in specific. Let's talk about something general. Whenever we were fixing a defect, right? So let's say whenever there was a new requirement to be tested, right? So we were having a full life cycle. Understand the requirement, analyze the requirement, then first of all developer will create that requirement, then tester will test that requirement. Once the requirement is tested, either the requirement will pass or a defect will be created. And if the defect is being created, then that will be another life cycle. And completing that life cycle again after closing that particular defect, then only we could say that requirement has been done and has been implemented successfully along with testing. So you see, checking one single requirement has taken a lot of steps. So requirement is there. We need to ensure that it is implemented and tested. So these all phases will be there. Like first will be analyzing the requirement. Then it will be like implementing. Once it's done, it will go for testing. It might happen now. Once I'm in testing phase, then a defect might be open. Then the whole defect life cycle will happen over here. That is like new, assigned, active. What was else? New, assigned, active. Then it was like if active. But if they tested positively, then it was testing, then close. So I'm taking a normal scenario, successful scenario. Once it is done, then we could say that the requirement again, close the requirement. So you see, testing a small single line of requirement took us like these number of steps. So that's life cycle that I would say that happens usually for each and everything. So each and every normal item has a life cycle over there. We humans even have a life cycle, right? We start from a very small age, like a newborn babies, till we grow up old, something like that. So life cycle is something related to each and everything. So in Selenium 2, we have some life cycle in which we write the code, we analyze the code, we debug the code, we fix the code. So we'll be studying about that. So team, what is Selenium? So you all know, right? Selenium has some features. First of all, Selenium is an open source tool. What do you mean by open source tool exactly? Open source tool means something that's easily or freely available on the internet. We don't have to pay anything or any fees for that license. In open source, they expose all the base code. So when the Selenium was launched in way back time, so what they did was that they started moving this concept on the internet without any money. So they don't want any money, but they want people to use this concept. So Selenium started, and it's currently also an open source, which means that the base code is freely available on the internet, which could be downloaded. So for example, let's say, do you think Facebook, so yeah, you all must be using Facebook, right? So do you think Facebook code is available on the internet? Facebook has a copyright over the code, right? So they don't expose their code. Not only Facebook, let's say Netflix application. Even Netflix application source code is not available on the internet, right? So that's not open source application. So that's a very vague example. What I'll tell you over here is, a good example would be like HPALM-QC, right? So HPALM-QC is a license tool. For HPALM-QC, we don't have the code exposed on the internet. We need to pay in order to use it. And after paying for it also, we don't get the source code. We just get the license to use it. So that means it's a paid tool and not open source. Open source includes features like freely available first of all, and the source code is available to download. Testing of multiple browsers. So when initially Selenium was launched, right? Selenium was launched initially to test browsers. So there were many different applications that were held out there to launch browsers, so test different browsers. Browsers like Chrome, Firefox, Safari, and like 3-5 more browsers like Internet Explorer, Internet Edge. So Internet Edge was not initially there, but yes, now it's available. So it is used to test multiple browsers that are available in the market. So what I mean to say over here is, just note this concept that Selenium right now, Selenium is only for browser testing. Anything that is related to browser could be tested using Selenium. But if you want to test something related to Windows, or if you want to test something related to a mobile, then we have to shift ourselves to some other software. So let's say to test mobile application, we need to use Appium. But Appium again is built on the top of Selenium. So it's like Appium language, Appium, I would say, tool is using Selenium tool underneath it. So Selenium, Appium is a wrapper. Wrapper means, so usually what happens when we go and gift something to someone, right? So we usually wrap it with the wrapping paper, right? But underneath it, it's a gift. So that's a similar kind of example over here. Appium is just a wrapper, like a gift wrapping over Selenium. So what's happening? Once we gift wrap something, what happens? It enhances the gift, right? It makes the gift much more interesting and much more expressive. That's a similar way that we could relate Appium also. Appium is a gift wrapper on Selenium. So what does Appium do is, it takes the functionality of Selenium, and along with that, it also provides some additional functionality. So the basic functionality that it takes from Selenium is testing browsers. And along with that, it provides some functionality like testing mobile applications. Selenium is only restricted to browser. So you see this, I'll just show you one feature. So you see that we have this option to save a document to a location, right? So this is a Windows pop-up. Do you agree with? We could even automate this thing with the help of Selenium, but not alone Selenium, because Selenium is only for browsers. And now this is pop-up. So what we do now, we have another feature called robot class. So Selenium plus robot equals to helps in automating Windows application. So you see, I'll show you how, why do we need to use this robot class. Just take an example of Janbask only. If I go to this particular page, right? Whenever we have to upload our assignment, what we do? We just click on this pop-up, this button, am I right? So what is this? This is a browser. Just browse this button over here. Now what happens? A Windows pop-up open for me, am I right? Situation a number of times, right? When you have to upload a file or something or the other. So in that case, we have to use Selenium and robot all together. So that's different concepts. Don't get confused. I'm just telling you. So Selenium only supports browser, but if we need some additional features, then we need to use something extra with Selenium in order to support. I'm just telling you what all possibilities are there with Selenium. I'll have to run because we have multiple things to cover, okay? And this document is there for you to read it. Whatever is important, I'm covering that thing so that we don't miss any important topic. So we have Java, C, Python, C#, Python, Perl, Ruby, PHP, multiple languages are supported. But most of the widely used languages these days are Java and Python. And browsers, I already told you, we could support multiple browsers. So initially, when the Selenium was launched, it used to support only Firefox browser. But now it supports all the browsers available in the market. Okay. So Firefox was the base browser of Selenium. So whenever we used to talk about Selenium, first thing that used to come to anyone's mind was Firefox. So team, now we have different components that we need to talk about in Selenium. So let's see about the history. So history of Selenium. First was Selenium 1.0. In Selenium 1.0, when Selenium was established for the very first time, so what did the Selenium people give us? They gave us Selenium IDE. Okay, so Selenium IDE was the very first and basic step that was provided to us by Selenium guys. So in Selenium IDE, we don't need to do any coding. We just need to do recording, and with the help of recording only, we could write automation steps. Okay, so I'll just show you how. I hope you all have Firefox installed onto your systems. So I'll type over here Selenium IDE. So you have seen this thing over here. Now it's even available for Chrome right now, but initially it started for Firefox. So let's add to Firefox It's again a plugin, right? I told you about plugin. Just see over here, right? You'll see something being added over here now. Right now it's only 3 items. So you see this 4th item has been added for me. Selenium IDE. So this is Selenium IDE, which will help us in writing automation test cases without any syntax or without any language or without any line of code. We just need to perform, we just need to record these steps, and then at the end we could place those steps. Okay? Let's say I open a new window. So let me go and open Eclipse Selenium IDE. It opens up this pop-up for me. So record a new test in a new project. I'll be recording a new test in a new project. That's Jan Mask training. I need to provide a URL, right? So URL would be like something like, let's say google.com for well-being. So I'm providing this base URL, okay? Everything that I'm doing right now, it's automated. It's automatic. I don't have to write any code, okay? But when we have to deal with Java, we have to write each and every line of code. So you see, once I have entered the URL, it says Selenium IDE is recording. Are you seeing this concept? Now, whatever I'll be doing, it will be recorded as a step for me. So if I'll go back over here, you see there's nothing out here, right? Currently, there's no command, nothing out here. But there's a symbol that's being populated over here that says stop. And over here it says Selenium IDE is recording. So if I type anything, let's type Dilip, right? So what will happen over here? I've entered some text, and after entering some text, I'm able to navigate to a new screen, right? So then let me say that. Okay, it's enough. And then I would stop this from here. Test name is Dilip for me. So you see this thing? I need to increase the size. So what happened over here was for us is like it has opened up this particular URL. Then we increased the window size because if you remember, I had increased the window size manually. So it was small open first of all, then I maximized it. Then I clicked on the search bar. So this is a search bar. So I clicked on this attribute. Am I right? So once I click on this attribute, it said click name equals to Q. So how this name equals to Q came into picture is by XPath. So I'm telling you how to extract XPath, but I'll just give you a small example right now. So we have to go and right click on the element, right? Inspect element. What does it do? It tries to inspect the code base. So in the code base, we usually define the name, IDs, or something unique for each and every field. If you see over here, it has a name attribute that says Q. Are you seeing this thing? So I'll tell you how XPath, how to view this thing. That's another topic that we have to discuss. Don't take tension. Today is only a brief information. So as for you to get started, what exactly Selenium and what we'll be doing in Selenium. So that's a Q field over here. Then what I did was that I typed into this Q field as Dilip. Am I right? Over there, what I did was that I tapped enter key from my keyboard. Right? So I tapped enter keyboard and that was all for me. So if I want to play this whole scenario, what I need to just do is run current test case. So let's see. So you see this thing? It happened automatically for me. Did you observe this thing? Should I play once more? Let me play once more. Observe. Open, Dilip, close the browser. So you see this thing? I have done each and everything automatically. I hadn't written a single line of code right now, but I was able to do everything automatically with the help of Selenium IDE. I hope we all can try this at your end once. It's not that difficult. Yes, Selenium IDE is there. So if the question is, let me just slow down the process. Now check the whole thing slowly. Browser open, then I'll enter the lib name over here. Once it's entered, then I tap enter button. So if you want me to wait, I could even wait over here. Command to wait. After insert wait. You see this thing? Result has been entered for me. I'm able to see the next page. So you could install the same thing into a Firefox browser as well as Chrome browser. Just type Selenium IDE and you'll be able to install it. But next question that comes up over here for us is, Selenium IDE is there. Then why do we need to code? So initially, I'll tell you for the practice. Just after this class, not today, it will be late for you. Tomorrow, whenever you get some time, just go and install Selenium IDE into your Chrome or Mozilla Firefox browser and try running random scenarios. Okay? Try playing around with Selenium IDE. So that will give you how does automation actually works like. So you could even do one thing for yourself. You could automate your Facebook account. You could automate your Gmail account. So that everything could be done automatically with the help of Selenium IDE. But the question is, why do we need code? Why do we need Java? Why do we need Python? Why? What's the use? So everything can't be done by IDE. We could just automate the basic scenarios. So this was a happy path flow, right? Like open the browser, search something, wait for an element. That's it. But what if we have to handle some exceptions? Exceptions means, let's say my browser didn't load properly. I have to refresh it again. My browser threw an error for me. I need to refresh the browser once again. So there are random scenarios that we have to handle at runtime. So how to handle those scenarios? So that possibility is only with the help of Selenium code. So that we have to write Java code, Python code in order to get to that functionality. So that's the reason that we need to take the help of coding languages. And even you know what? Even for even these days, there are many applications out there in the market which could even develop an application for you, which could even develop a website for you. So people don't use those tools much because they provide only limited functionalities. But whenever we need to use or make a use of advanced functionalities, then we have to code ourselves. Selenium IDE was developed to cater the very first initial launch of Selenium, in which it was comfortable to record happy path flow, because during that time people were getting comfortable. But as soon as they launched Selenium IDE, then they came across, hey, we're not able to handle this, hey, we're not able to handle that. Then they came with some other concepts. So right now we have only Selenium IDE as part of 1.0, right? But we have some other concepts too. That's called Selenium RC and Selenium Grid. So Selenium RC, what's that? So Selenium RC is something called Selenium Remote Control. So Selenium Remote Control was the very first thing in which they used to perform some coding. So what used to happen, I'll tell you in the past. So if you want to code something, right? So first of all, you will open Eclipse and write your code. Okay. So that code might be in any of the languages like Java or Python. Once you have written the code, now that code is written. Now you need to interact with the browser. Am I right? Now you need to work with the browser. So how does these commands get to know that I need to work with the browser? We have to make them relate. We have to relate themselves, right? We have to make some connection between browser and the code. Am I right? It's not that difficult. So once you get your hands on, it will be easy for you, I believe so. So we'll be learning all the basic concepts of Java that is required to write simple lines of Selenium code. And so on, as you proceed further, then we'll be teaching you how to go hard, how to go advanced on that. So why will the developer give you the code? You're not doing white box testing. So testing that we're talking about right now, it's white box testing, not automation testing. So let's take an example of Netflix. What's happening in Netflix? So we were having a login button on Netflix, am I right? What if the company asks us, hey people, can you just log in with these 1,000 number of users? So if they give you 1,000 number of users, we have some common steps. What are the common steps? That pick up the username from Excel file, pick up the password from Excel file, tap on login button. These are 3 common steps. So rather than doing these common steps again and again, so here comes the picture of automation testing, where we have to write some code to help ourselves, so that the process is easier and easier to manage. That's the main point. So with the help of automation testing, remove, repair, task, reduce the cost, and so do you agree with all these factors? So if you're automating 1,000 time login, if you automate that scenario, it also reduces the cost, not initially when we're writing the code, but yes, later on processes. So initially when we're automating this task of 1,000 time login, it will take some cost, some time. But once it is done, then in future, if anyone comes back to us and says login 1,000 times, then we could just straight away run this kind of code. We don't need to write any code again. So that helps us in saving cost as well as resources time. Next time is, since you have automated this 1,000 time login job, you think basic advantages of automation testing. Why do we need automation testing? So these are some of the basic characteristics that I could tell you over here, that what is given to us when we start automating. So we need to know code, not a lot, but yes, little bit for sure. So team, let me just go forward. That time IDE is not able to help us. We have to do those steps with the help of coding. So there's a command that says that driver.navigate.refresh. This helps us in refreshing the browser. There are a lot of things that could not be done by IDE. Usually, all the errors that comes up can't be handled by IDE. So in order to cater this, we have to write code. Eclipse is something that's free sourcely available. How do you say it? I forgot the term. Open source. Happened to me. So it's open source. You don't need to pay anything for the license. It's freely available for you to download. And it's like a WordPad or Notepad, you could say. But why do we use Selenium IDE? You know what? Notepad doesn't give you any suggestions. So while I'm writing something, it doesn't give you any suggestions. But Selenium IDE does give you some suggestions. And that's helpful for writing or expanding your code. Because if you remember, if you see this thing, I have put this dot, right? In Selenium IDE, whenever I'll write this thing like driver dot, it will give you multiple options to choose from. If I don't remember syntax exactly, it will give me a list of drop down from which I could choose from. I think I have something over here, but I need to create something. Yeah, it's not ready right now. So yes, Selenium IDE is used basically to help ourselves to write some code. There are multiple IDEs out there, like IntelliJ, Eclipse. Then we have Visual Studio, we have Android Studio. Multiple IDEs are available over there, but this is one of the IDE that's freely available. You could even use Android Studio, but that's next level. But I would suggest initially to start with this Selenium career, go with Eclipse. So I'll be teaching the whole sessions with the help of Eclipse right now. Then Mac has some different setup. So now I'll shift back to slides. It is let's see the drawback. It supports only Mozilla Firefox, so it's not true. That's an old point. Now it even supports Chrome browser. There are new additions to it. It doesn't support programming. It doesn't support data-driven testing. So remember, we have to provide 1,000 set of data. We have to log in with 1,000 set of data.
Yes.
So that those usernames and password could not be provided over here using automated testing, because at time we could provide only one data, but we cannot provide a list of data over here. Integrated development environment, that's the full form. So what we are going to learn, Selenium coding, is the one that we need to use for writing that thing. Next is Selenium versus UFT. So UFT is another tool, or QTP you could say, Quick Test Professional. So it's a tool that is used for automating basically the the browser applications as well as Windows application. Okay. Selenium, first of all, is an open source tool. It's a paid tool. You have to pay for licenses every time. Okay. It supports multiple programming languages like Java, Python, Ruby, C#. It supports only VB script languages, because usually this discussion happens whenever we discuss about Selenium and QTP. So QTP is a tool that was developed before Selenium, and Selenium came after QTP. So we don't need to remember much about this, but yes, just have a look at differences. What is the difference? Basically, this tool is a paid tool. Due to the paid version, it's losing its it's losing its importance. People are moving towards the Selenium tool now. And Selenium is there in the market for like, I think 11 to 12 years now, and it's still booming. People are still trying to learn Selenium. So you are also here to learn Selenium, right? It's never ending for Selenium. You won't see Selenium coming down for next few years, like 5-6 years, Selenium will be there in the market. Until then, you can expand, or you could learn some more concepts, some more tools. So just go through this. Next thing that I need to come up with is test environment setup. It's the main part. We prepared a small document yesterday in which that will be required for us to set up the whole Eclipse. I think I have to include some more steps over here initially that will help you to proceed further. So first of all, we need to download Java, because we need to work with Java, right? We need to download Java. So we could download the Java from this particular link. So I'll just show you right now. You'll see this page. Just go down and download Windows, this particular package, Windows 64. Since my laptop is configured for 64-bit, I have to download 64-bit. But if it is for you like 32-bit, download 32-bit package. If it's visible, download it. What will happen? It might ask you a username password. Download this thing. So it will open an Oracle site for you. Okay. So it will ask some credentials to log in. So just create some credentials for yourselves. Just go and create an account. Then you'll be able to log in. Okay. So once you have downloaded that, there will be a setup file that's called .exe file. Just run that file, and setup will happen automatically. Now, once you have done that thing, right? Next thing that you need to perform is we need to set up the environment path. I forgot to mention that those steps over here. Need to set up Java home. Now we need to set up Java home. That's how, and you'll have this recording anyhow, right? So there's no problem in it at all. So usually the system will set up for you like in users, the username that you have. Sorry, not in users, my mistake. It will happen in program files for you. Either program files this or program files 86. Okay. So I think my Java is over here. So my Java folder is over here. So once you install the JDK, right, you get these two folders. So once you get these two folders, then you need to go into your settings again. So if you remember, I had opened this PC, right? I click properties. So either I could go, so I need to set up my environment variables. Now, what is environment variables? Environment variable is something that tells the whole system, hey, where can I find this? Hey, where can I find that? So usually we set up environment variables for like Java. Where is Java residing? Where is Android Studio residing? Where is Maven residing? So all those basic terms or all those basic tools that we need to use to operate the whole system, we give the naming convention somewhere. So we need to go this advanced system settings, or we could just skip this step. I think it's difficult. Just go on to search menu, type environment variables. So you'll see edit environment variables, right? I'll type the step for you. Set up start environment variables. Then once you have done that, it will open this screen for you. So this screen will be opened up for you. Then click on environment variables. Once you have done that, it will open this screen for you. This. Now this screen will come up, okay? Now you need to set up these two paths basically. Java underscore home, JRE underscore home. So where will you find these paths? Usually whenever you install Java, right? So when you'll be installing that JDK setup, it will be asking you directory where you want to install this. So usually it happens in C directory. And if it happens in C directory, then usually this will be the path for you. Just confirm it once before giving this path. Enter the variable. So like you see, when I go over here, click on new, you'll get this dialog box. Click on new under the system variables, okay? Enter Java. So it should be all caps, okay? Java underscore home. And this will be the path. Just check it once, okay? If this is residing at your location or not. Then click new again. Enter JRE underscore home. And this will be the path for you. Once you have done, just go and save it. You don't need to do anything, just go and save it. Before that, you need to perform one more step. It's another variable called path. Over here. Okay, just go to path and write these steps. So what are we doing? We are using ampersand Java home. So what are we telling? Take the path that's mentioned under this variable and append slash bin to it. You see, we defined this variable out here. This was a variable that was defined Java underscore home over here in this screen. Now what we are saying, use the path that was defined in Java underscore home and append slash bin in front of it. So this is path variable. Path variable is over here. So this is system variables and path variable is over here. Double click it and you'll get this screen. Okay. This is some basic setup that we need to perform in order to make Eclipse run. That's it. So it's not a every time process that we need to do, but yes, it's a one-time process that is required. So once you have set up these variables, now just close it. Okay. Now next thing comes up is for installing Eclipse, right? Now what we have done, we have installed Java that is required for Eclipse to run. We have set up the environment variables. Now next thing that we need to perform is installing Eclipse. So team, yesterday I tried downloading Eclipse from this path, but I'll tell you one thing. This is the latest version that I tried yesterday, but this version has some complications right now. So I won't suggest you to download this setup right now. I'll give you another part. Just let me change the path. So I'm good with this particular 2019 version. That's much more stable. So you know what? Whenever there's a new version available in the market, that's not stable. So even I don't prefer working with a newer version. I just try working with the older versions. So this is my best version that I could work with. That's Eclipse 2019 version 4.13. I'll give this link. Download the setup from this particular link. So you'll see a button over here. Download the Windows setup. That's 64-bit since my system is 64-bit. Download this setup. I'll just replace this link now. I hope you're all fine working with an older version of Eclipse. Nothing to do with just the version, because the newer versions get some new features and that's not stable right now. So when I was trying to work with the newer version yesterday, I was getting a number of errors. So now is the step. Once you download this file, okay, you'll get a zip file, condensed file, right? It's a shorter file, compressed file. I don't have right now with me. I could have shown you. I think I've deleted it. No, it's here. So this is a zip file that you'll be able to see. So once you open this zip file, you'll see Eclipse folder, right? But you need to unzip this first of all. As soon as you unzip this, you will see a file called as eclipse.exe. So that's here. This is a file that you need to work with. Okay. So we'll open this file, and as soon as we'll open this file, we'll see a pop-up. I will ask you to define a workspace location. So what does workspace mean is, where do we want to store all the code that we are writing onto our system? So we have some workspaces. So we have some folders, right? So you could give any location over here, whatever you want. That location will be defined over here. So I took a screenshot yesterday from our program, from an online website. So whichever location you want to define, you could define it here with the help of browse. Just use D drive, I would prefer. D drive any folder, that would do. Then once you have done, then you will see the following screen. So this screen will be opened up for you. So mainly we need to work with this window that's called Package Explorer View. So this thing will open up for you. Okay, so this is called Package Explorer. Over here we have different options. So usually we work with this type of screens, and whenever we so once this screen is open, right? So this will open like a empty screen for you. Let me open an empty screen. So this will be the screen that will be shown to you. So it tells us about some features. Just skip the screen and you'll be taken to the screen. So that's the screen that I'm showing you right now over here. Okay. Now once you are done with this, I'll ask you to stop over here. You don't need to proceed further, because this is something that I usually do to check whether Java is working or not, whether Selenium is working or not. But I'll ask you to wait till here, because after this, we'll be doing things ourselves. So I'll be telling you how to do each and everything after this, in every session. Just try these steps, okay? First of all, it might happen that I might have missed some of the step, okay? If you feel some issue, right? First of all, I'll ask you to Google it. If you're not able to Google that issue or not able to proceed with the setup, just download each and every setup. So each and every setup I mean by, just download this JDK with you. Just download this Eclipse with you, right? If nothing happens, I'll help you tomorrow. I'll take control of one of the system and I'll try to explain the setup, because I already have that setup with me. So I need some other system on which the setup is not there to explain it to you. But I'll ask you, this is a very easy setup and the information is very easily available on YouTube, any channel out there. You'll be able to see all the information easily. So we'll be doing till over here, the second step only. So these three steps we'll be performing later on when we start working on Selenium or Java exactly. So this is Selenium test lifecycle. So we need to discuss a little bit about the Selenium test lifecycle. This is exactly followed in coding perspective, but we don't need, no one ever ask you such question about Selenium test lifecycle. But this is a very generic information. So test planning. So usually what happens? Whenever we get the requirements, right, we need to plan how we need to implement those requirements. So developer plans their own way, tester plan their own way, right? Testers start writing the test cases, am I right? So even automation testers have to see how could we implement these test cases. So we are in direct contact with the developers and the testers to see where is the product right now. Is the product developed so that we could automate? And with the testers, what are the scenarios that we need to automate? So these all interactions even happen with manual testers. Even manual testers could tell us, hey, you need to automate these tests. Or they will tell us, hey, this is the requirement, check. Whatever could be automated with the help of automation. Next thing is writing basic test. So generating basic tests, right? So what will happen initially, in order to automate, we'll write some basic tests. And these tests will be with the help of Java code. So we'll be using Selenium jars and Java code in order to write some basic tests. Once we have written those basic tests, we need to enhance those tests. Enhancement means time consumption. So initially the test might be taking like 10 hours to execute. We need to reduce the time consumption of it, like 8 hours, 6 hours, something like that, so that the test cases are much more faster and easy to handle. Then at times it happens that once the test cases are created, when are we running it, it might happen, it might execute successfully, but at times it will throw an error. So once the error comes up for you, you need to debug the test. You need to debug the application. Debugging means you need to go line by line and inspect different elements. So if you just go in Eclipse, up in this one. So you see this thing, debug as. So if I just click on over here, this is called a breakpoint. So what will happen over here? The control will stop here. So usually what happens when I start executing the program, so all code runs in once. Okay. But if I apply this breakpoint over here, then the code will stop over here. It won't execute until unless I debug it further.
So with the help of debugger, I'm able to stop the code execution in between. So this all will be told to you once we go through session classes, how to debug everything. Now, once we have debugged the code, now we need to prepare, now we need to run the test cases. And test cases, once they are run successfully, now we are good to go. But at the end, what we need to do, we need to prepare reports. So we are automation testers, right? And we are preparing this automation stuff for the stakeholders. The stakeholders won't be interested in the automation code or the Java code that we have written, right? They will be much more interested in the reporting. Just show them some bigger graphs. This much executed, this much failed. This test case was executed. At what time it took? How many test case number were executed? So different things. So this thing is done with the help of reporting.
JanBass Training. Learn and grow.